that's the first thing that you have to realize when you're running a football club is, especially a club with the magnitude and the reach of Manchester United is, if you're not winning, things will go down and they will go down quicker than you can say it's over.
True. Yeah.
Finally, I think they started realizing that, and I think that is why, like Ole, I have a lot of thoughts on what Ole is and what Ole is supposed to be.
Yeah, let's just talk about him, like, since you've already mentioned, and let's just bring that agenda forward.
Yeah. So I have always been in the camp of Pochettino was the guy that they had to bring in.
Yes.
Pochettino was always the guy that they had to bring in, because there is something about him. Like, it might not have gone well over a period of 5 years, which it might happen with Ole, but the 3 years that they would have been successful and they would have been in their cycle, like football cycles generally are 3 to 4 years, right? Most managers, they pick, like, they start off, then when they start scaling up, it's the 3-year period before they start going down.
Yeah.
And I think you can empathize with that, because I think Liverpool are towards the second half of their cycle. So
yes, but like I'm so glad that you mentioned Pochettino, or maybe any manager of that caliber. Maybe he wasn't available at that point, but for me, Ole was a no-go. But then again, he was this puppet for the Glazer family, and that's why they recruited him. But I just want to mention that I find fans so, like, I don't know if I want to call them deluded or passionate, because they want to
fickle.
because they want to, like, they have this love for a player who's associated with the club as a player, and now he's come to the club as a coach. And then you think that
another important factor is that he's associated with the greatest moment of the club.
Yes.
He's directly associated with that. So that's another cachet that he has.
Yes.
I just thought it's important to mention.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, they don't find this fine balance that, okay, he, like you mentioned, he had the greatest moment in the club's history, but then he's not the greatest coach the club could hire at any given point in time.
Yes, at least by track record, it's pretty
in his lifetime. So, like the same with Chelsea. They were like, no, he shouldn't be sacked. How could you sack a player who's given all his life to the club? For me, like, if I see it, I'm like, no matter how much he wants to come, I don't want him to coach Liverpool. I don't want Steven Gerrard to coach Liverpool. No matter how many titles he's going to win with Rangers and dethrone Celtic, he will manage the club at some point in time. I don't want him to, because the thing is, like, it just gets too emotional, and then he can do no wrong. The perfect example was back in 6 or 7 when Alan Shearer was managing Newcastle. He got them relegated, and the fans didn't mind because he gave his entire career to
but there are see, if you delve into the context of all the cases that you laid out,
but no player is greater than the club, like we say, right?
Yeah, but Newcastle and Shearer is the one that you might actually make an argument for. I'm being very honest.
Yeah.
Because it's Alan Shearer. Like, Newcastle have never had somebody as great as Alan Shearer.
True.
Like, even though they were winners in the 90s. Like, so you brought up a few teams, so let's go through them in order, right?
Yeah.
So you brought up Lampard first,
and
I think the problem with Lampard was he was in a catch-22. I think, like, because you know how weird Chelsea is with their managers, right? Like, they don't have a set philosophy. Like, they have a set philosophy in recruitment, but management-wise, it's.
They have a set philosophy there as well. Like, 2 years, if you don't win, you can fuck off.
Yeah, no, like, I was talking from a hiring perspective.
Yes, yeah.
A philosophy perspective, right? Like, the manager and what philosophy he brings in. Like, they don't really have any track record which has any discernible patterns, right?
Sure.
So, like, I think for Lampard, this was an opportunity, first of all, that you never know when he's going to get. Right?
I think, that's true. I'll give that to him. I'll give that to him.
So I understand from Lampard's perspective why he went for it, because the question he would be asking himself is like, this is the club I want to manage, and I understand that. Like, and there is something about the fact that if a player has been at a club and he understands the club from within,
Sure.
it has some value to it, and Ole has proven it to an extent. Like,
Yes.
he's not the best manager.
No.
Let's just be honest. He's not a Premier League winning caliber manager at this moment, but he still understands something about the club, and he understands the history and the pressure of being United.
Yes.
And being a player for this team. So he does contribute to helping the players.
I think,
and especially after Mourinho, in such stark contrast, you can see how much of a difference he's made in the lives of players like Marcus Rashford and
Luke
Paul
Shaw.
Pogba. Luke Shaw has been the biggest beneficiary of Ole, and
I think this is where
Maguire has done well. Lindelof has really recovered everything that he lost under Mourinho.
This is where I understand the fans, the passionate fans who back the player to become the coach perspective, because that ex-player gets the club, gets the culture, gets the philosophy. Fine, but like again, like I ask you, but I know your point of view. So if I ask a fan who you wanted to term as fickle or me like deluded, would you prefer Ole or would you prefer to have a Pep at Manchester United, or a Zidane or a Klopp?
What kind of question is that? Like, who would not take Pep? Who would not in their right mind not take Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp as their manager?
Yeah.
Like, I was so sad when Jurgen Klopp went to Liverpool, because that spelled it out for me that Jurgen Klopp is never going to manage Manchester United.
Yeah.
And because I've been a fan of Klopp since Dortmund, and like a lot of people did watch that Dortmund team and were very excited about the brand of football they were playing.
Mm-hmm.
But like 2015 was like, that hurt me personally, like from a personal fan perspective. Like,
so this is like the funny part. Like I see when like there's a great coach who has this CV of winning, and then you go for a coach who is your ex-player only on the basis of like him understanding the club.
Yeah, that's the important point, right? It only should not be on the fact that he's an ex-player. Like, they need to build their CV, need to be part of the hierarchy. And that is when I come to Steven Gerrard, the point you brought up. Steven Gerrard has done something historical, something that was almost unimaginable for English fans, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's their 55th championship, but it's the hardest one for them.
Yeah, it was never coming. Yeah.
We know I don't know if normal football fans know the story about how they were, like, whatever circumstances they were financially in very poor straits. They had to go down to the third league.
Yes.
And then they climbed back up, and then Steven Gerrard took over. And
so let's just give like a very brief picture. So what happened is, like, the Scottish rivalry, there are a few teams, 12 play in the first league. The biggest is Celtic and Rangers. Celtic were green and white, Rangers were blue. Both are from
the... We can't get into the actual history of the rivalry.
Yeah, both of them
are... There is a lot of
context.
Things.
So
it's more than a normal team rivalry. Like Manchester City, Manchester United is just football.
Yeah.
But Celtic and Rangers has a lot more to it. So it's
another
rivalries in the world.
Another podcast we'll do on that one. But like very briefly,
I don't know too much, but I at least understand.
Yeah, very briefly. So back in around the beginning of the decade, 2010-11, Rangers were relegated. They went into administration, so they were bankrupt, and they went from the first league to the third league. And Rangers' biggest rivals were Celtic. So Celtic made very good use of the situation, and then they won 9 in a row. So 9 in a row. And then
going for 10 in a row.
Yeah.
The season was predicated on 10 in a row,
but
the story flipped.
Yeah. So the thing is, Rangers climbed from League 3 to, they came to the first division, and then for 5 years they still couldn't topple because they were still under reconstruction, and they tried different managers. And then Gerrard came in 18. And so that is the context of like why one could say that maybe a neutral fan would prefer Steven Gerrard going to Liverpool than Frank Lampard going to Chelsea, because Gerrard has that winning record. He has that trophy.
And he has more time and management. I think just from the basis of time and management, it's a much more respectable decision to make. He should not be next after Klopp. Like, I don't know how long Klopp's going to last. We never know with these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in some point in the future, if Steven Gerrard is able to stick to this trajectory, if he goes to another club and he manages and he does well, and then I think he would put himself in line and deservedly in line for that Liverpool job.
Yeah.
Because nobody gets Liverpool better than Steven Gerrard, and I think all of us know that.
I still feel he has like another term in a Premier League club, like try to make a mid-table, not mid-table, between 11 to 15 finish.
Do you mind him going abroad, like try out his hand, and like I don't know if it makes sense for him or not, like just as a general throwaway question, like go to Spain, learn a different type of football.
I don't know if he would. The thing is, I feel because UK, Britain or England feel like they are superior to others.
Yes, their track record is very poor. Also.
They have this ego of like, yeah, we are the best, so we are going to stay within. And I kind of, admire very little. Okay, like out of 10, like one out of 10 respect to Gary Neville just going to Spain to like try out his trade. But the thing is, he didn't have preparation. He was breaking down videos on a Monday night football program. And also then the Valencia board got it completely wrong. But the thing is, he did not speak Spanish. The first thing about integrating into a culture is like understanding the people and understanding the language. And
yeah, he should have at least like at least give time to that thing. Like at least Gary Neville in his mind, because Gary Neville is a very smart man. I think that's pretty obvious with however he talks about football and his other businesses. I think the thing I think that Valencia experience is very learning for him. Like he learned a lot from it. He understood a lot of things from it.
Yeah, but he wouldn't.
He could tell you better than most in terms of what went wrong and how he could have done better. And I think he needed to plan for that job for much longer than whatever time period he put in. Like,
yes. But the thing is, like,
ready for it at all.
Yeah, why? I wouldn't mind. Of course, like I would encourage Steven Gerrard to go abroad and like play his trade. Like, why not go to? I mean, Scottish football is just two teams. Why not go to the next very close leap would be to go to Holland, and like manage Eindhoven or an FC20. And like then win against Amsterdam.
I think maybe go on. I don't know if Twente is going to be able to compete with Ajax too, and Eindhoven. Like, would they?
But Ajax is like the closest rival is Eindhoven, or maybe a Rotterdam in that case. So
yeah, no, like I was suggesting go into one of the Dutch teams where you actually have some sort of structure to be able to go and fight Ajax for the championship.
Yeah. Or like I feel like his next step is of course the Premier League, a mid-Premier League club, and making them finish in the top half. So, and do it for like.
I think even the championship would not be a bad shot. Like, I think championship football is one of the hardest places you could ply your trade in.
Yes, it is. But the thing is, I don't know how much of a learning curve it is for managers. Like you saw with Lampard, with Gareth Southgate. I mean, of course, he's managing the England national team, but I'm not a big fan of him again.
No, but guys like Eddie Howe and like Sean Dyche and these guys.
Yeah, but these guys have stuck with the club. Like Eddie Howe did not leave Bournemouth for 10 years. Sean Dyche is still at the club.
Maybe Steven Gerrard, if he's good enough, then he can actually promote a team, bring him into the Premier League, and then
be with them.
That would be another whole curve that like there'll be 10 more things that he'll be able to learn from that person.
Yeah, then this makes like a lot of sense. But but then we are still. What do you? We're still on to the topic of Ole and how much of it does he have in him to give Manchester United, and what do you again think and feel about him?
He's proven me wrong every time. That's the part that I'm most impressed by. Like, I didn't think he would last this long. First of all, but I've seen a lot of promising things from him. Like, people might not appreciate what I'm saying. Like, I have grown to and respect his work, and he might not be the most tactically astute manager. He does not have much of a footballing philosophy,
and yet he's beaten Pep Guardiola more often than not.
Yeah, I think that's the problem of Pep. Like, the anti-Pep is the lack of a tactic. When you don't play anyway, then how is Pep supposed to predict how you're going to play? So that just works perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
But
I think another important factor that has to be mentioned is that Bruno Fernandes saved Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job.
yeah, true. I mean, in the last 1 year, the trajectory that you guys have been on is really not scary. I wouldn't say scary, especially when like you have Manchester City there. I mean, if they were not there, then of course that would be like scary for me on two levels. One as a supporter as well, but
one as a hater, yeah. No, that makes sense. That's fine. Yeah.
No, but the thing is, like, the question I want to ask is he the right manager to like take you to the next level? Because you keep saying that you said that he keeps proving you wrong, and will he take you to the next level?
I don't believe he is, but what if he proves me wrong again? Like, see, that's what the thing is. Like, I can see it going two ways. One way is that they stagnate. I don't mind the stagnation, to be honest with you. If they're able to win other trophies, like win an FA Cup, win the Europa League, and another important thing is that he's learning things. They're applying things more. They're improving in areas.
Mm-hmm.
I think this season, like quite a lot of the run-in is a bit of a write-off because the players are so exhausted by now.
Yes,
this has been a season like no other. It's been relentless. So I don't expect a lot of great performances. There will be most of it will be grinding results out unless you're a machine like Manchester City, which can just, I don't know how that thing works. Like the Pep Roulette or like.
Yeah, when you have two world-class players in one position, then it's easy.
It's ridiculous how that Manchester City is still going on, and I think next season will be an important one because next season you would expect, first of all, a defensive midfielder, which is something that they really need, like a dynamic defensive midfielder who's able to do what Matic does and quite a lot of what Fred does, combined into one, which is what you need to be a superlative team. If you want to be Manchester City, you need a guy like Fernandinho. If you want to be Liverpool, you need a guy like Henderson. So you need that kind of dynamic and you need that particularly because it's even in Liverpool, because the midfield has a very particular set of jobs that they're doing, right?
True.
Because the creativity comes from the forward line. So that's a philosophy.
Yeah.
And because Solskjaer does not have a set philosophy, he needs players who can do jobs. Because he's not able to put in, like, the double pivot of Fred and McTominay works. But the problem with that double pivot is that it puts too much pressure on Bruno Fernandes and Rashford to create from on their own. It's not a gegenpressing philosophy that you create by opposition mistakes directly, right?
Yeah. So
there's a lot of half-heartedness also in the ideas that are being implemented, and maybe time will help them in that regard.
True. On that note, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay healthy, stay awesome.